Hey guys, Steve from Unexplored Films here, and today we are making me look really old. So we created this effect for a video experiment we were trying, where I had to play two versions of a character, a young one and an old one. We try recreating lots of practical and visual effects that you'll have seen in movies, and if you enjoy things like that, please consider subscribing and you'll get to see lots more. So this was the first time we had tried anything like this, using prosthetics and makeup to create an aging effect. Now we are not makeup professionals, we thought this would be a fun experiment to try, and we did it during a lockdown when we couldn't have assistance of any kind from anyone else. And the processes we are trying here, we were simply learning from other online tutorials. So I'm sure we got some things wrong and there will be people that can do this better, but this was our first attempt and it was a lot of fun, so here's how we did it. Now this whole process took at least half a day. I think it was about 4 or 5 hours, but honestly I'm not sure, so be sure to leave a lot of time for this if you are planning on doing something similar. Now I'm currently in my early 30s and I started by looking at my face in the mirror and trying to work out what would change over time. We needed to age my face in a way where I would still be recognizable but just as a much older man, and we decided to use a combination of latex prosthetics and makeup. We found a great website called Mostly Dead. They are not sponsoring this video, but everything that we used came from them. Looking through the prosthetics that were available, we decided to get the wrinkled forehead, a pair of eye bags, a pair of jowls, and a pair of aged ears. If you're going to use prosthetics, you need to have something to attach it to your face with, and for this you can either use spirit gum and spirit gum remover, or if you want to make absolutely sure it's not going to move, you can use Pro Adhesive and also the remover for that. We tried a test with both and in the end went for Pro Adhesive. Before you use any of these on your skin, it's a good idea to do a test in an area that will be covered by clothing, just in case you have a reaction to one of them. We also got some Castor Seal, some Pro setting powder, some liquid latex, and an old age makeup kit which includes sponges, a brush, and some cream makeup. Now latex prosthetics don't arrive coloured because obviously they don't know what colour skin you have, so you need to paint these using makeup. If you're applying these to yourself and no one is helping, it's often easier to paint these with makeup before you attach them to you. As we were using cream makeup, this can damage the latex, so the first thing we did was brush the Castor Seal over all of the prosthetics. This creates a protective layer before putting the makeup on. After about 10 minutes, when this was mostly dry, I took the foundation layer of the makeup and added it to the pieces. So as I was going to be sticking lots of things to my face, it was a very good idea to start this effect clean shaven, and it's important to wash your face first as well so that your skin is as clean as possible. I also started by prepping my hair before doing anything with the face. I severely gelled and combed my hair back as far as it would go to reveal the highest hairline possible. Next I was able to colour my hair using the white stick in the makeup kit, which you can activate by dipping in water. The prosthetics weren't going to cover my entire face, and that was what the liquid latex was for. You can paint this onto your face to disguise joins between your real skin and latex pieces, and you can use it to build up extra layers of fake skin. So now I started to do some latex stippling using liquid latex in a dish and applying it to my face using a sponge. So I started by stretching out parts of my face that could naturally stretch and applying a layer of liquid latex. Then I would use a hairdryer to try and dry this out as quickly as I could, and then I would apply another layer on top, all while keeping my skin held as tight as I could. Once the latex appears clear, it has dried and it is time for the next layer, and the more layers you do, the thicker your fake skin will be. And when this is dry and you unstretch the skin, the latex has given you what look like naturally occurring wrinkles. Now these wrinkles won't be anatomically correct, but the prosthetics are going to create most of the effect, and this is really just to fill in the gaps. So although this was time consuming, it was a really effective way of adding some 3D wrinkles onto the parts of my face that wouldn't be covered by prosthetics. For each part of the face, I did about 3 layers. So I did this on the gap between my nose and my mouth, I did it on my chin, and also all over my neck. Once the latex stippling was done on the parts that needed it, now I could start adding the prosthetics. And if you didn't do this at the beginning, you should check that these fit your face. Now we could take our Pro Adhesive and brush a layer of this onto the back of the prosthetic. If it's a large piece, it's better to do this in the middle of the prosthetic and then work your way outwards. If it was a smaller piece, I found that it didn't really make a huge amount of difference. You can also apply a small amount of the adhesive to your skin as well, and that will just help it to stick together. Once it's had about a minute to dry and it's starting to feel tacky, now it's the time to stick these on. I started with the old age ears because I thought that was the easiest thing to test first and see if any of this would work. People's ears get slightly longer over time, so this especially had a long earlobe and it covered my real ear, which was just sitting behind. These stuck on very nicely, so next I went for the eye bags. By putting the adhesive in the middle, I could then start by stretching it out from the middle onto my face. I did the same with the second one and added little bits of adhesive around the edge just to make sure the edges were staying flat. After that I added the jowls, which are basically just saggy parts of the chin. Now it was just the forehead left. But before I added that, I started doing more layers of liquid latex to try and join together the prosthetics that were already on my face. Now it was harder to keep my skin taut for this, but I thought it would at least hide all the joins. So I did about 3 layers of this over my nose and cheeks and just joining everything together. And again, I waited for this to dry every time, so another reminder, this is not a quick process. Now I understand why Hollywood makeup takes so long. It's been 84 years! Next I could apply the forehead, and I just had to trim this a little bit to make it fit. And this was by far the largest prosthetic, so again I started by adding the adhesive to the middle and stretching it out from the middle going outwards. If you don't get the prosthetics in quite the right place, there should still be a little bit of time to quickly move them into a better place before it dries. Because this one was so big, it didn't quite work as well as the others, and so I had a couple of ragged joins around the eyebrows and on the edges of the eyes, which I had to try and disguise with a little more liquid latex. You can also use more Pro Adhesive to disguise edges as well as liquid latex. So now I could start adding the makeup, and I had a head start because I'd already prepped each of the prosthetics with the foundation, but I added more foundation on top of everything just to make it all the same colour. So once I had the foundation layer on, now I could start with the other colours. Now as a disclaimer, I am the world's least experienced or knowledgeable person on makeup, but I was basically just following the instructions in the old age makeup kit and I gave it my best shot. I started by taking one of the darker colours and I contoured under my cheekbones, along the temples, along my forehead following the curve of the eyebrows, and in the ridge of my chin. This was to make these areas feel a little more sunken in and to make my face look more skull-like. Once I'd done that, I could take a lighter colour and add it to the opposite areas, the parts that should look like they're protruding. When applying makeup to all of the wrinkles, I would put a dark colour down one side and a lighter colour on the other side to make it look more three-dimensional. This helped accentuate the grooves from the nose down to the mouth, the crow's feet on each side of the eyes, and the forehead wrinkles. For very fine wrinkles, I could use the eyeliner pencil that came with the old age makeup kit. In order to make the face paler and to make sure the makeup didn't smudge, I added lots of the Pro setting powder to keep it in place. I added some little sunspots near the top of the forehead, and used a bit more of the whitening stick on the eyebrows and to create some stubble. When I felt like I'd got everything as good as I was probably going to be able to, I changed out of my painting shirt, and just like Sean Connery in a wetsuit, I already had my costume underneath. This is because I thought it would have been way more trouble to try and put a costume over my head once I already had all this stuff on my face. So that was the process complete, and now we were able to film our video effect, and that was a morph effect between a young and an old version of the same character, just like you see in the movies, and if you want to see exactly how we did that, you can watch this video here. This is definitely starting to peel off around my mouth. So after about 4 or 5 hours to get ready and 1 hour of filming, it was time to take it all off again and get back to normal. Now the first thing I could do was to carefully pull the liquid latex off just by hand, and I found that I didn't actually need any adhesive remover to do this. However, you should go slowly doing this if it's attached to lots of different prosthetics. I was able to cut and pull away slowly all of the neck and the area around the nose and the mouth, and this left the eye bags and the jowls easier to get at in order to use the Pro Adhesive remover. Next I put some of the remover in a dish and using a paintbrush was able to slowly paint this on under the edges of the prosthetics. The trick is just not to rush with this, I think. If you slowly pull on them and let the adhesive remover do most of the work, it will slowly begin to dissolve the adhesive and they will come loose. So using the remover, I was able to work upwards from bottom to top and slowly remove all of the prosthetics. Lend me your ears! The forehead probably took the longest because it was blended in with my eyebrows and my hairline, and finally a shower to get the hair colouring out got me back to normal. Now if you've removed the prosthetics very carefully, apparently you can use these about 3 or 4 times, although I'd covered mine in so much liquid latex that I think it might look terrifying if I tried to put them on again. So that was the process we used to try and turn me into a much older version of myself, and this was a good experiment to try with a good old-fashioned practical effect. And if there are more practical Hollywood effects you'd like to see us try, then drop a comment below. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Please give it a like and hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this. I've been Steve from Unexplored Films, and I'll see you next time.